Here's a YouTube article on the GAZ Volga evolution in 1996, without handling conditions. Title: GAZ Volga 1996 Evolution, a Soviet icon reinvented. The 1990s marked a turbulent chapter for Russia economically, politically, and socially. The automotive world, too, found itself at a crossroads, grappling with the transition from the rigid principles of Soviet engineering to the demand for modern consumer comfort. In this dramatic transformation, one name stood tall: GAZ Volga. Specifically, the 1996 GAZ 3110, a pivotal model that attempted to revive the Soviet legend for a post-Soviet world. Today, we dive into the detailed story of the GAZ Volga 1996 evolution, exploring how this proud Russian sedan adapted to modern challenges, and how it became a bridge between nostalgia and a new era of automotive identity. Chapter 1: The Legacy of the Volga. To understand the importance of the 1996 Volga, we must revisit its roots. The Volga nameplate traces back to the 1950s, when the Gorky automobile plant, GAZ, introduced the GAZ 21, a car that symbolized prestige in the Soviet Union. Through the 1960s and 70s, the Volga series evolved into the GAZ 24, then later into the GAZ 3102, which offered slight design improvements but remained firmly grounded in Cold War-era engineering. The Volga was the default executive car for Soviet officials, a symbol of authority and rugged simplicity. However, by the 1990s, this formula was outdated. Russian citizens, now exposed to Western vehicles and expectations, wanted more comfort, performance, safety, and style. Chapter 2: Introducing the GAZ 3110, a transitional legend. In 1996, GAZ launched the GAZ 3110, marketed as an upgraded successor to the aging GAZ 31029. At first glance, it was a restyling, but beneath the surface, it was much more than that. The GAZ 3110 retained the rear-wheel drive layout and body-on-frame construction of its predecessor, a trait that made it robust for rough Russian roads. But where it broke new ground was in aesthetic design and interior modernization. The car featured rounded headlights, a redesigned grille, and a more contemporary body profile. It finally looked like a modern sedan. Inside, it offered new seats, a reshaped dashboard, and optional power windows, a luxuries rarely seen in prior Soviet-era designs. The 3110 symbolized the attempt of a domestic automaker to keep pace with foreign imports. While it still fell short in build quality compared to Western brands, it was a critical step forward for Russian automotive design. Chapter 3: Mechanical DNA, a familiar yet improved. The mechanical backbone of the 3110 relied heavily on previous models, but with important refinements. The early versions featured the ZMZ 402 inline-4 engine, a 2.5-liter workhorse known more for durability than performance. It generated around 100 horsepower, hardly a speed demon, but respectable for its class. Later versions were optionally equipped with the ZMZ 406 engine, a 16-valve 2.3-liter inline-4 with fuel injection. This engine marked a real leap forward, bringing smoother performance and improved efficiency, and meeting newer emission standards. It was one of the first signs that GAZ was embracing modern engineering principles. The 5-speed manual transmission remained standard, and while the ride quality was soft, ideal for long drives on rough terrain, the handling was still not sporty. But the Volga had never been about speed, it was about comfort, reliability, and presence. Chapter 4: Interior and Comfort, a leap forward. The interior of the 1996 GAZ 3110 deserves special attention. For decades, Russian drivers had tolerated basic, utilitarian interiors, hard plastics, exposed metal, and minimal features. But the 3110 aimed to change that. Drivers were greeted with a new dashboard layout, improved ergonomics, and optional upgrades such as air conditioning, electric mirrors, and power steering. These features were optional, but their very availability signaled a shift. The seats were now contoured and more supportive. Noise insulation was improved. GAZ also experimented with wood tile trim panels and fabric upgrades, moving the Volga closer to a premium image. It was still a far cry from BMW or Mercedes, but for its market and context, it was a significant improvement. Chapter 5, Design Language. A classic Soviet DNA, modernized. While Western carmakers in the 90s embraced aerodynamic forms and bold curves, the GAZ 3110 retained a unique Soviet visual identity. The squared-off design was softened, but the proportions remained imposing and formal. The chrome accents, raised hood, and prominent front grille echoed the past Volgas. Yet the headlights were more modern, and the taillights were larger and more visibly incorporating Western influence subtly. It wasn't just a facelift, it was a design evolution, respecting its roots while acknowledging a changing world. Chapter 6, A Symbol of National Identity. The 3110 found favor among government officials, taxi drivers, and patriotic citizens. For many, it was more than just a car, it was a symbol of resilience. Amidst a chaotic Russian economy, foreign car prices skyrocketed. The Volga offered a familiar, dependable alternative. It was not uncommon to see GAZ 3110s in front of ministries or used as VIP transport. It carried authority while remaining accessible. This dual personality made it a national icon of the transitional post-Soviet period. Chapter 7, Production and Challenges. The 3110 was produced from 1996 until 2004. During that time, it underwent minor updates but never a full generational leap. GAZ faced financial struggles, competition from used foreign imports, and changing consumer preferences. Yet the 3110 persisted, thanks to its simplicity, parts availability, and loyal fan base. Mechanics could fix it with basic tools, and spare parts were cheap. For rural Russia, where reliability mattered more than luxury, the Volga was still king. Despite its charm, quality control was inconsistent. Fit and finish problems, outdated suspension tech, and low safety scores limited its appeal outside Russia. Still, it was a cornerstone of the Russian auto industry. Chapter 8, Legacy of the 1996 GAZ 3110. Today, the GAZ 3110 holds a nostalgic place in the hearts of many Russians. It represents a time when the country was redefining itself, and the car stood as a metaphor for that identity crisis rooted in history but striving toward the future. Classic car enthusiasts have begun to restore 3110s. In collector circles, well-maintained models with factory specs or rare trim levels are gaining appreciation. Its ruggedness, charm, and cultural relevance make it a vintage gem of 1990s Russia. Chapter 9, Beyond the 3110 and the final Volgas. After the 3110, GAZ introduced the GAZ 31105, a slightly refined successor that carried the torch for a few more years. However, by 2010, the Volga lineage ended. GAZ eventually shifted its focus to commercial vehicles and partnerships with international firms. The dream of a luxurious, domestically made Russian sedan faded, but the legend of the Volga remained strong, especially the 1996 model, which tried to modernize without abandoning tradition. Final thoughts. The 1996 GAZ Volga 3110 is more than just a car, it's a symbol of a country in transition, an industry finding its footing, and a people holding on to legacy while reaching for innovation. Though it may not win performance awards or top safety ratings, the 3110 carved a place in Russian automotive history through persistence, adaptability, and cultural significance. It's a car that survived revolutions, mechanical and political, and still commands respect on the roads of history. Let me know if you'd like a voiceover script, short version, or visual storyboard for YouTube.